What I find truly fascinating about thermoacoustic Stirling engines is how they flip the usual engine script on its head. We're talking about converting heat into sound waves that do the work, rather than heat driving a bunch of metal that's banging away in a conventional engine. And yes, this means you can get power with almost no moving parts, except for the essential bits you need to extract that energy. Today I want to unpack what makes this idea exciting, what it implies for the future of simple heat-to-power devices, and why a DIY community is so drawn to it. Imagine a device that uses heat to create high-amplitude pressure waves in a gas, waves that carry energy from heat to motion. That's the essence of thermoacoustics. The Stirling engine part is still present in the sense that you're harvesting useful work from those waves, but you're not relying on a traditional rotating engine to do it. Instead, you've got a closed loop where heat input sets up an acoustic field, and the surrounding components, think pistons or generators, convert that acoustic energy into usable electricity or mechanical work. What's remarkable here is the simplification. Fewer moving parts generally means fewer failure modes and easier maintenance, which is a big deal for long-term reliability, especially in off-grid or remote setups. One thing that immediately stands out is the emphasis on heat sources. The original maker, My Engines, demonstrates how you can run these systems on methane from a home biogas plant. In my opinion, that kind of flexibility is a microcosm of a larger trend, energy modularity. If you can burn biogas, waste heat, or even solar thermal sources to excite your thermoacoustic engine, you're not tied to a single fuel or grid. From my perspective, this broadens access and resilience, particularly in areas with unstable energy supplies or limited infrastructure. It also invites a messy but exciting question: how do we optimize for real-world heat sources that aren't perfectly controllable? The open-source hardware angle is essential here. The project isn't just a clever prototype, they've released 3D models, drawings, and a public drive. That openness accelerates learning, iteration, and safety awareness. My take is this: the community as a whole benefits when design files aren't locked behind silos. It invites critique, upgrades, and practical experimentation. What many people don't realize is that the value here isn't just the final engine, it's the collaborative process, sharing test results, failures, and improvements in near real time. From a technical standpoint, the appeal is also educational. You don't need exotic machining gear to start experimenting. There are simpler demonstrators, like a steel wool in a test tube, that show the core principle in a tangible way. I think that's a brilliant entry point because it lowers the barrier to entry and invites makers to prototype quickly. A detail I find fascinating is how these demonstrations distill a fairly complex thermodynamics problem into something you can see, hear, and feel. If you step back and think about it, the core idea is a feedback loop. Heat creates pressure waves, those waves transfer energy, energy does work, and heat input continues to drive the cycle. That leads to a deeper insight: the boundary between heater and engine is more fluid than we usually admit. In a conventional engine, heat is a messy input to a series of mechanical processes. In thermoacoustics, heat becomes the driver of an acoustic field, and the work comes from reading that field rather than directly from a combustion piston. What this could suggest is a shift in how we design small-scale power systems, favoring acoustic resonators, regenerator materials, and impedance matching as the real engineering challenges, not just the geometry of a piston. A lot of people underestimate how tricky it is to keep a stable acoustic mode while extracting energy efficiently. From my point of view, that balancing act is where the craft lies. Let's connect this to broader tech and maker trends. First, there's the revival of all-in-one converters, systems that mingle heat, sound, and electricity in a compact package. Second, the open hardware ethos here mirrors what we've seen in open-source robotics and DIY biology. Transparency accelerates safety, reliability, and trust. Third, there's a sustainability angle. If you can repurpose waste heat or low-grade fuels into usable power with minimal moving parts, you reduce waste and maintenance burdens in off-grid contexts. What this really suggests is a niche but real potential for robust microgenerators in remote huts, research stations, or disaster zones where conventional generators are overkill or impractical. On the practical side, the project isn't a plug-and-play generator. It demands careful tuning, choosing the right regenerator, designing the resonant cavity, and ensuring the heat source is stable enough to sustain the acoustic field. My takeaway is that the biggest hurdle isn't just building something that works, it's building something that works reliably under real-world conditions. This is where community feedback, iterative testing, and conservative safety practices come into play. If you take a step back and think about it, the value isn't only the device itself but the process, learning to troubleshoot noise, harmonics, heat losses, and impedance mismatches. So what does this mean for enthusiasts and future engineers? Personally, I think thermoacoustic Stirling concepts invite a new mindset, designed for resilience, not just efficiency, designed for flexible heat sources, not just high performance in ideal labs. What makes this really interesting is that it democratizes access to a kind of energy engineering that used to feel exclusively academic or heavily industrial. If you're curious, the next steps aren't just building a bigger engine, they're documenting measurements, sharing what worked and what didn't, and exploring safer, lower-cost demonstrators to teach the core physics to a broader audience. In closing, the big question I'm taking away is this: can thermoacoustic approaches scale from clever DIY projects to practical, maintainable microgenerators in real-world settings? The path isn't guaranteed, but the premises are compelling: simple moving parts, robust operation under diverse heat sources, and a collaborative, learning-focused community driving faster iterations. If you're listening to this and thinking, I want a hands-on project that makes power from heat without a rack of moving parts, you're not just chasing a gadget, you're exploring a different way to think about energy conversion. Before we sign off, tell me in the comments, what heat source would you want to power a thermoacoustic system with, and what would you want to power with it? And if you've experimented with a simple demonstrator, what surprised you most about how the acoustics behaved under real conditions?